It's weird to think about what it was like to be a kid. It's hard to remember and put yourself back in that position. What you used to do, things you used to dream about, struggles you used to have. But there will always be those things that stick out to you. Maybe it was a trip you took with friends where you guys made some great memories. Maybe it was your senior prom and you ended up having a great night. Whatever it is, some things you just won't be able to forget.
But it's so hard to move on. You haven't changed, you stayed the same. But if you did, I'd still love you anyway. I'd give you the world like I promised I would. Even though you wouldn't do the same, I'd give you the world like I promised I would. Even though you wouldn't do the same.
I was very hesitant to share this story because it's very personal and there's just some things that you don't want on the internet. But the one thing I want this channel to be is transparent and just extremely honest, to uncover the darkness and bring light to areas that people need it. And how can people learn from your mistakes if you don't share them? How can people be brought out of the darkness if they're not exposed with the light?
When I was 17, I lost my virginity. I knew there was a girl who wanted to hook up with me and I was struggling to resist. The one thing that I remember so clearly about this event in my life is that I was very torn. I didn't know what to do. I had been a Christian and in church my whole life, and I knew sex before marriage was a big no-no. I was actually so torn that I ended up making a pros and cons list of losing my virginity. Like any decisions, there was good things and there was bad things. I remember coming to a point in this decision where I realized my rationalizing was pointless. I came to the conclusion that there was no way I was going to be able to say no to sex. I was trying so hard to resist and to stay pure, but I came to a point where I just realized there was no point in fighting. I realized I was too addicted to porn, too addicted to fantasizing about what it might feel like, too addicted to the excitement that just the thought of sex brought. And honestly, the worst part was that I was right. I was too addicted. I was too obsessed.
Like, it's crazy that I actually got to a point where I felt like that. Like, I didn't feel like I had a choice. Like, I was so bound up that I was enslaved to this decision. Like, I was enslaved to what I had chose in the past, and I could not choose anything else. Like, that blows my mind, honestly. I could sit here and try to convince you on which decision is right, but honestly, I'm gonna be truthful. Sex feels great. It's a rush. It's amazing. It's exciting. Like, there's a reason why so many people do it. But the truth is that what comes with it is not worth the feelings, the disappointment, the emptiness, the attachments, the heartbreak. Like, all these things eventually catch up with you and you're left with nothing but like addictions that are killing you. The truth is that you have a choice. One of the most powerful things that God ever gave you is choice, and no one can ever take that away from you. But the reality is that the more you choose porn, the more you choose sleeping around, the harder it is to come back. Once you open the door to those things, it's so hard to turn around. But the truth is that whatever choice you pick ultimately influences the next choice. I chose porn too many times, and it cost me. I chose it so many times that eventually I wasn't able to choose anything else. Ultimately, what you've chosen in the past greatly influences what you choose in the present. and inevitably the future. So I would ask you just to stop and think, is this worth it? Is this really what you want to do? Because you will never be able to go back. You will never be able to get this moment back. You will always have to live with this decision for the rest of your life. And this is a moment in time that's very significant in your life. Do you really want to give it up to someone who doesn't really care about you, someone who doesn't really love you, someone who doesn't really mean that much to you? I would just hate for you to waste on someone that's not committed to you forever, who's not really there for your best interest, who's not in it for the long run, who's not always going to be by your side. Because that's what I did. Like, I wasted it. And I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Jacob and Esau, but Esau is the older brother, Jacob's the younger brother. Esau, because he's the older brother, he has the birthright. And back in that culture, the birthright was a big deal. You get double portion of the family's inheritance. You get to eventually be the leader of the family. There's a lot of good things that come with the birthright. So long story short, Esau's out hunting. He comes back in. He's starving. He's famished. Jacob has some stew. Esau asks for some stew. Jacob says, I'll give you some if you give me your birthright. They go back and forth a little bit. Eventually, Esau gives it to him for some stew. Like, what a waste. And I just feel like this is a perfect picture of what a lot of our lives look like when it comes to losing our virginity. Is that we've traded something so special, so valuable for some stew, for some soup. And we'll never get that back. Ultimately, if you've made the decision already and you're not going to wait, I would just advise you just to choose someone that you really love or someone who's actually special to you. And I would advise you just to remember, like, at the end of the day, like, just like we have to give an account to God for the things that we did on this earth, you're probably going to have to do the same thing with your spouse. You're probably going to have to tell them everything you did, especially when it comes to your sexual history. I would advise you to put yourself in their shoes. Do you want to be with someone who's slept around, who's just hooked up with a bunch of people who just didn't really care about this issue? Because if you don't want to be with someone like that, don't be like that yourself. Be different. Be the person that you'd want to be with.